But all of us, we blame white people. So there's this continental, not even national, continental blame on slavery, blame on colonization, blame on white leaders, white states, white countries. It's all white people's fault. Hello everyone, this is Judith and welcome to my channel. If you are new, thank you so much for stopping by and viewing my content. But if you are a regular viewer, thank you so much for coming back again and viewing my content. So today's video is a little bit different. It's more like a chit chat with my African brothers and sisters. I think I can't just produce content on traveling and portray a really good life without also talking about some of the things that I noticed while traveling. So in 2017, I flew to South Africa after graduating from high school in 2016. I flew to South Africa to pursue my higher education, and I mean, the journey was really amazing. My stay there was amazing. Lots of lessons learned and lots of experiences that I'm gonna tell my kids. Prior to traveling to South Africa, I lived in my country for 18 years. So I was used to our own ways of living and not exposed to a multicultural environment or society. Congo is a 99% black country. So we are about 90 million people, and we have now lots of investors coming from different nations, and we have quite a population of white people here. But we can't even say they are the minority, because we can say they do not exist here, but they do exist. What I mean is that there are not lots of white people here, and even though there are some white people here, they live in like their own area. They're not mixed with Congolese people. So now imagine coming from that environment of 100% black people and having our unique way of living and moving to South Africa, to Cape Town especially, which is like a white city. It was a wild journey. Two different words. So I could not see the differences between black people and white people in terms of wealth and in terms of the jobs that they had. Black people had more minor jobs, low paying jobs, such as housekeepers, gardeners, all of the small jobs were for black people. So I was like, oh my goodness, why are black people only having, those low paying jobs, and white people have access to higher education, have access to high paying jobs? And it started really working on me, because when you are in a 100% black country, you don't really notice the social differences or the inequalities between people, because you all look the same. But when you are in a foreign country, in a country where all the low jobs are performed by a certain race, then you start noticing and asking questions. Why is that? So I started thinking, maybe we are cursed. Maybe Africa is cursed. Well, there is no African country to which I traveled where I did not meet any single African complaining about the state of their country, not complaining about their political leaders. I am the first one to complain about my political leaders, but all of us, we blame white people. So there's this continental, not even national, continental blame on slavery, blame on colonization, blame on white leaders, white states, white countries. It's all white people's fault if Africa is still in poverty. So, is it true that it's only white people's fault? Well, we're gonna answer that. Well, we cannot deny that these two events have really negatively impacted our continent. They have changed so many things, so many changes on our continent, and these two events divided us. These two events separated us. These two events prevented us from achieving some of the things that we would if they did not happen. I just think that these two events now have created a lot of excuses for us to not do anything and just complain and just blame other people for what happened. Because I'm saying this because we were, prior to slavery, prior to colonization, we were practicing slavery, black on black slavery. One tribe, one clan would enslave another clan. Even our political leaders prior to slavery, they enslaved other Africans. And we usually do not talk about that because the fact that another race enslaved another race, that's when it took a south turn. I was in high school and we had a history class about slavery, and we were all enraged about the atrocity of slavery and just detaching one race, one people to its own land to go to a foreign land, and just how cruel how cruel white people were towards black people and treating them like animals. So it was really outrageous until I read a book by a Ghanaian writer. It's titled Homegoing, and it's just tells the story. It's a fiction book, but it has a lot of truths to it about slavery, and just seeing that it was a cooperation between black leaders and white colonizers and white slave owners. So I was just like, okay, so it's not 100% white people's fault. It's also black people's fault. If we have to put it on a scale, I'd give white people 60% and 40% to black people. I was in Zanzibar and I went to visit the slave market and went to a slave cave. I was really heartbroken to see how my ancestors were treated as animals, and others were humans, but white people were humans. And until I went to the museum and started reading history, and I was even with a friend who did not even want to keep on reading the history. And also it's so irritating when you read the history of your people and you are surrounded by the race that oppressed you for years, and they are there and reading history and telling that history to their kids, and their kids will have a certain look on you when they see like a photograph of a black woman enslaved, and they see you, they're like, oh, you're equal to the slaves. So it's so irritating to be in a museum where they tell the history of your people and there is a representation of the oppressors in the room. It was outrageous until I stumbled upon a poster that explained a little bit of history where There was, I think, General Wilbur, if I'm not mistaken. I will check out the name on Google. He was English, so he was white, and he was in the was working in the government. So he was fighting for the abolition of slavery. And there was this Sultan, is it a Sultan? Zanzibari Sultan, who was fighting against the abolition of slavery, and he was black. So I was like, wow, okay, black Sultan who is fighting for the continuation of slavery. So I was like, okay, I paused for a minute and I was like, okay, there's hypocrisy here, because we are busy on the internet only talking about slavery and how white people are evil. And well, I'm not saying, I'm not applauding what happened to us. Look, because even now our political leaders are participating into modern slavery. They are selling they are selling our wealth, our minerals to white people for their own pockets. They are enriching themselves. They are not thinking about us. They think about themselves. So it's not fair to put the blame on other people and forget the participation of our race. Well, I am not ignoring the fact that our political leaders, our presidents are under pressure to take some of the decisions that are against maybe their beliefs, by the West to take some of the decisions or to sell our minerals, to sell our countries. I am aware of that. All I'm saying is that we do not take our responsibility. We do not own our part into wherever is happening to Africa, and we just find our voices to blame the West, to blame white people. White people have to do this. I don't think they have to apologize. This is for what their ancestors did to Africa. I think this mindset of this victimhood mindset is hindering us from making progress, from just reaching new heights. This victimhood mindset is keeping us from, doing great things, because people are racist. Racist people exist. Evil white people exist as much as evil black people exist. Racist black people exist as well. So my concern is that regarding slavery, we only put all the blame on white people. We do not consider the fact that even our leaders participated in this atrocity. Maybe they did not mistreated physically and emotionally and psychologically our ancestors, black people, but they participated in some way, somehow they participated. And there were even other black leaders who were against the abolition of slavery. So it's really not proportionate, it's not fair to put the blame on white people for every single thing that happens to Africans or to Africa.